welcome. We begin tonight in the United States, where New York's highest court today overturned a 2020 verdict that found Harvey Weinstein guilty of rape. The New York Court of Appeals ruled that the movie mogul was not given a fair trial. Weinstein's trial, you may remember, helped spark the global Me Too movement. He'll remain in prison because of a guilty verdict in a separate rape case in California.
Rumors of Harvey Weinstein's sexual misconduct had been circulating for years, but his 2020 sex crimes conviction in New York State confirmed it. Judges have now overturned that and ordered a new trial. In a 4-3 decision, New York's highest court said the judge in the original trial allowed a cross-examination that portrayed the powerful producer in a negative light. The judge also allowed testimony from women who claimed Weinstein had assaulted them, but were not part of the case. The 2020 guilty verdict, along with newspaper articles and statements from well-known actresses, led to Weinstein's downfall, some of whom are dismayed by the latest ruling.
This today is an act of institutional betrayal. And our institutions betray survivors of male sexual violence. And we need to work within and without the systems to start having what is known as institutional courage.
None of this means Weinstein will be freed. He is in prison in New York and was separately sentenced 16 years for another rape in Los Angeles. The new decision is still a disappointment for some women.
Well, I saw it about an hour ago on headlines, and I got to say, it made me sick to my stomach. I'm a sexual abuse survivor myself, so the idea that this man, this monster, is getting another shot, justice hasn't been served. Justice is weak.
I mean, it's messed up, and it's just what America is, I guess, unfortunately. But I'm not surprised, and it sucks that the court did that.
Campaigners emboldened by Harvey Weinstein's downfall wonder whether years of social progress have also been overturned.
All right, there's a lot to pick through here. And to do that, I'm joined by Nancy Erika Smith. She's a civil rights attorney in Montclair, New Jersey. Nancy, it's good to have you with us. Let me start by just getting your reaction to this reversal decision that we found out about today.
I'm devastated. I'm disgusted. It's just another way that the legal system has failed women. The legal system has failed women since there was a legal system all around the world. And this is just another horrible failure of the legal system. Weinstein raped and abused women for 30 years and got away with it because our system is stacked against women. Women are not believed. Powerful men get the right lawyers or know the prosecutor, which is well proved in the Weinstein case. And also the powerful men know the newspaper editors that keep their bad acts out of the news until Me Too, which is very, very recent.
Yeah. Let me ask you, though, about what we heard today from these judges. They said that the guilty verdict cannot stand because the judge in the original case had improperly allowed testimony from women who made allegations about a case that had nothing to do with the charge against Weinstein. Now, it sounds like that what the prosecution was doing was trying to build a picture of Harvey Weinstein's character. Is that allowed? I mean, for our international viewers, is that standard practice in U.S. courtrooms?
I don't think it was character evidence. I think it was showing his modus operandi, which is admissible evidence. If you have a serial killer who uses the same methodology in all of his killings, the jury can hear about that. But this is a special rule for women. I mean, look at the history of rape jurisprudence around the world. First, women had to prove that they had a hue and a cry, that they complained enough while a man had a knife to her throat while he's raping her. Then, until extremely recently, and not in every country, a husband was allowed legally to rape his wife. And still in many countries, if the rapist marries his victim, he won't be prosecuted. So it's crazy to me that they want every single serial rapist or serial sexual abuser to be able to play the he said, she said game, but the jury can't hear he said, she said,
Well,
she said, she said. She
Nancy,
said.
isn't that the problem, though, with these cases? If you have no other witnesses to the alleged crime, then you are working with he said, she said. And if we're talking about power dynamics here between men and women, is a courtroom, is that the place where you can bring these dynamics to a level playing field? I mean, or do you think society should be demanding that to happen somewhere else?
No, it should take place in a courtroom because these men never go to prison. Bill Cosby's not in prison because of some ridiculous Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling that said that he had a special deal with the prosecutor that wasn't in writing, very unusual, that he could testify about how he drugged and sex and drugged women in order to have sex with them. And so he couldn't be prosecuted because he admitted it. The courtroom is the place because these men have to be stopped and put in prison, which almost never happens to rich and powerful sexual predators, repeat sexual predators.
Well, Nancy, also, these rich and powerful men, I mean, these are people who have money. And in the U.S. justice system, you cannot continue to appeal cases and to follow the proper channels of the legal system unless you have money to pay for attorneys. You know, we hear all the time that U.S. justice is justice for the rich. Is this an example of that? Would Harvey Weinstein, would he been able to appeal this case had he been a poor person?
Well, I don't know. Luckily, in the United States, we also provide free legal representation to people who can't afford it. But you're absolutely right that power and money, which often go hand in hand, but power has insulated repeat sexual abusers since the beginning of time. And that definitely has influenced how Harvey Weinstein, for 30 years, just look at all the NDAs he got signed. He got women to sign non-disclosure agreements about their sexual abuse in exchange for money. How is that even legal? It's not legal, thank goodness, in New Jersey, the only state in the United States where it is illegal. But the system is stacked. If you assume that all women are liars and that they want to go through the process of being cross-examined the way every woman was in the Weinstein case, brutally cross-examined, because why? For fun? There was no money at stake. All they wanted to do was stop a repeat sexual predator, and the jury should have that information.
Nancy, moving forward, how do you see today's decision affecting how evidence is presented in cases involving sexual assault in the future? I mean, is this a precedent-setting case that we saw today?
I hope not. It's certainly precedent-setting in the very large state of New York, where a lot of rich and powerful men live and work. So it's precedent-setting in New York because it's the New York Supreme Court. It may not be the law in other states. Maybe we need a federal law that allows other victims to testify subject to cross-examination because, of course, every defendant is entitled to cross-examine accusers. But to say that you have to have every single woman alone on the stand with reasonable doubt is all that the defense has to show is some reasonable doubt. Nobody else is there when you're getting raped. So not to allow the jury to know other women had the same experience with this same defendant is really wrong. I hope we can fix it with a law.
Is this going to have a chilling effect on other sexual assault victims and their willingness to come forward and to file charges?
Absolutely. Victims of sexual violence all over the United States and maybe the world are devastated by this ruling. And it makes it much harder to come forward and be alone when you know there are other women who have been abused in the same way by the same man. And some of these women just want to stop it so that there are no more victims. That's why they go through this horrible process. But this ruling definitely has devastated victims of sexual violence everywhere.
Civil rights attorney Nancy Erika Smith joining us from New Jersey. Nancy, we appreciate your time and your valuable analysis tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I want to bring in now Jayson Campadonia, NBC News and iHeart Radio in Los Angeles. Jayson, good to see you. Explain to us why exactly has Weinstein's conviction been overturned?
So the argument has been made that the judge allowed testimony from alleged sexual assault victims of Harvey Weinstein to testify in the case in New York. They had nothing to do with the charges that he was facing, and basically are calling it a hit piece on the Weinstein name. So anybody who alleges anything can just say what they want in court, and that's not the way the courts are designed. Courts are designed for those accused to face charges. And so they overturned the conviction, basically saying that it wasn't fair to Harvey Weinstein to have to sit and listen to testimony from alleged sexual assault victims telling what his lawyers are basically saying are a bunch of lies.
So having witnesses come in to help paint a picture of someone's character here, this goes beyond a procedural error, if you will. I mean, we did have one judge saying that Harvey Weinstein did not receive a fair trial at all. Explain that to us, Jayson.
So when somebody goes to court, they're supposed to face charges and only hear evidence that are surrounding those charges. If Harvey Weinstein's accused of something, and then you just kind of open the floodgates for anybody to come in and say whatever they, feel happened to them, that's not fair to the person who's on trial. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be fair to Harvey Weinstein. Why the prosecution went with those witnesses, I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't in those board meetings. But the accusations, they seem to be in line with several other of the accusations against Harvey Weinstein. So they wanted to paint the picture, but that doesn't necessarily work with the U.S. justice system.
And we know Harvey Weinstein is serving time in prison at the moment. Does the reversal in this case, does this mean that he's going to be able to walk free until there is a new trial?
No, he's actually serving time for another conviction of rape in Los Angeles, so he will remain behind bars. What will be interesting is if they extradite him to Los Angeles, from New York to Los Angeles. There's several prisons here in California that he could go to. Folsom in Northern California. There's a few prisons in Southern California and Los Angeles County. And it puts him closer to his family. It puts him closer to his money, puts him closer to his production company. So all of these things. So he's allowed to still have a life while being in a Los Angeles prison, even though he can't go out and actually run his business. It's a little bit easier to conduct business when you're behind bars and your production company's, several miles down the road versus 3,000 across the country.
You are in Los Angeles. That is the heart of the U.S. movie industry. I mean, how is this going down? Are people there saying that Me Too is being reversed to a he said, she said legal system?
So the visceral reaction is absolutely that, right? How could they? This is the Me Too movement. This is what we fought so hard for. We wanted to bring, abusers to justice. People who commit sexual assault in Hollywood is rampant. We tried to, that's what we worked for. And how can this be overturned? So it's the visceral reaction, right? Of like, oh my gosh. And then the Me Too movement is probably going to rise up yet again, because now these victims may have to testify yet again. So if they have to be put through the same traumas that they were in the original trial, that's a pretty bad place to be. And I'm sure the Me Too movement will come out in force. Several Hollywood celebrities, Reese Witherspoon was behind the Me Too movement, Ashley Judd, Gwyneth Paltrow, all of these big time generational stars are out there now, and they've got a lot of money. And that's what's going to be really interesting, is if they start throwing money at these kinds of things, hiring better lawyers, and better firms to fight these abusers that are happening in Hollywood. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's, I'm actually surprised there's not a press conference already from the Me Too movement or some sort of statement from the actual group. But I'm sure that'll come in the coming days, if not hours.
Jayson Campadonia in Los Angeles. Jayson, we appreciate your time and your analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.